Imagine waking up, feeling the world is against you, yet a small voice whispers, "Today is different. One simple step changes everything." Life twists, turns, and surprises us, guiding us toward what we're truly meant for. He lived in a small, quiet town where everyone knew each other. Every morning, he walked the same streets, passed the same faces, and returned home with a heart full of quiet dreams. His life felt ordinary, yet he carried a spark inside, an unshakable hope that something bigger awaited him. School was never easy. He struggled with subjects that seemed simple for others, and often felt invisible in a sea of confident faces. But he refused to give up. Every night he would sit by his small desk, scribbling ideas, drawing sketches, and imagining a life beyond the boundaries of his town. His family, though loving, didn't understand his dreams. They worked hard to make ends meet, and he knew they wanted him to follow a safer, more predictable path. Yet every glance at his notebook reminded him that his heart belonged to something more. He had one friend, a loyal companion who shared his laughter, fears, and occasional doubts. Together they would wander through empty fields, talking about the future, their voices carrying across the wind, full of hope yet tinged with uncertainty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, he realized something important. Life was short, and if he didn't chase his dreams now, he might never get another chance. That thought ignited a fire within him, a quiet determination that nothing could extinguish. This was the beginning of a journey that would test his courage, resilience, and heart. A journey that would show him that even the smallest steps, taken with hope and purpose, could lead to unimaginable change. And little did he know, the twists and turns of life were already waiting to teach him lessons that no classroom ever could. Life, however, had its own plans. Just as he began to believe that his efforts might lead somewhere, unexpected obstacles appeared. Grades fell despite his hard work, and moments of self-doubt began to creep in. He started questioning himself, wondering if all his dreams were just illusions. One rainy afternoon, as he walked home from school, he slipped on the wet pavement and twisted his ankle. Pain shot through his leg, but more than the physical hurt, he felt the weight of failure pressing on him. People around him offered well-meaning advice, yet none of it seemed to soothe the gnawing feeling inside. His friend tried to cheer him up, but even their laughter couldn't erase the cloud of disappointment. Nights became longer, filled with thoughts of what might go wrong next. The dreams that once brought warmth now felt distant, like stars too far to reach. Despite this, he refused to surrender completely. He remembered the small voice from that morning, the one that whispered, "Today is different." Clinging to that spark, he began searching for small victories. Completing a difficult assignment, helping someone in need, or even smiling through adversity became little triumphs that reminded him of his own resilience. Then came a bigger challenge, a chance to participate in a local competition that could open doors to opportunities he had always dreamed of. Fear gripped him. Failure loomed larger than ever. But something inside whispered that this was the moment he had been preparing for. The moment life had been quietly shaping for him. With trembling hands but unwavering determination, he stepped into the unknown. The challenge was daunting, the obstacles real, yet every step, every misstep, became a lesson. And though he didn't know the outcome yet, he felt the first flickers of growth, the first glimmers of strength forged through struggle. It was in these moments of doubt and pain that he learned something crucial. Life doesn't break you to stop you, it tests you to teach you. Every challenge, no matter how harsh, was a stepping stone toward the person he was meant to become. Days turned into weeks, and each challenge he faced seemed heavier than the last. Yet somewhere deep inside, he felt a quiet determination growing stronger. One morning, as he wandered through the park lost in thought, he noticed an elderly man sitting alone on a bench, feeding pigeons. There was something about the calm, patient way the man interacted with life that caught his attention. Curiosity pulled him closer. The man smiled warmly and began to speak, not as a teacher, but as someone who had walked the same uncertain path. "Life doesn't give us what we want," the man said softly. "It gives us what we need. Every struggle, Every failure, every heartbreak, it's shaping you for something greater. The words struck him deeply, echoing everything he had been feeling but could not express. For the first time, he understood that failure was not a wall, but a stepping stone. That small spark of hope inside him flared into a steady flame. He began noticing the subtle lessons hidden in everyday life. A missed opportunity taught patience, criticism taught humility, and unexpected setbacks taught resilience. He realized that everything, every twist, every turn, was guiding him toward growth he could not yet see. Encouraged, he threw himself into his passions with renewed energy. He practiced harder, studied with greater focus, and embraced challenges rather than fearing them. Slowly, he began to see small victories. A project completed perfectly, praise from a teacher, smiles of recognition from friends. Each success, no matter how minor, reinforced the belief that he was on the right path. The turning point was not a grand, dramatic event. It was a quiet, internal shift, a realization that the hardships he had endured were not punishments but teachers. And in that moment, he understood. Life was not against him. It was preparing him for moments that would test his heart, mind, and spirit, shaping him into the person he was destined to become. For the first time, he felt truly alive, filled with a sense of purpose that no failure, fear, or obstacle could take away. He understood that the journey itself, the struggles, the doubts, the lessons, was the most valuable part of all. And with this revelation, he stepped forward into the next chapter of his life, ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited, knowing now that every moment, no matter how difficult, was part of a grand, unseen plan. From that moment on, everything changed. He woke each day with renewed energy and a clear sense of purpose. The failures that once haunted him now felt like lessons etched into his heart, guiding him toward a brighter path. Every obstacle became an opportunity to grow, every mistake a chance to learn. He spent hours honing his skills, pushing beyond his limits, and embracing discomfort. Where fear had once held him back, courage began to take root. He started to realize that success was not about avoiding failure, but about facing it head-on and refusing to be defeated. His friendships grew deeper, strengthened by shared laughter, encouragement, and understanding. He inspired others not through words alone, but by showing resilience, hope, and determination in every action. Even his family began to notice the change. A quiet confidence in his gaze, a spark of passion in his smile. Then came the moment that tested everything he had learned. A regional competition, one that could define his future, awaited. Doubts crept in, whispers of fear threatening to undo his hard work. But he remembered the lessons life had taught him: perseverance, patience, and belief in oneself. With every step toward the competition, he felt the weight of his journey, the struggles that had shaped him, and the victories, big and small, that had built his confidence. On that stage, he poured every ounce of his effort, every lesson and every heartbeat into his performance. When it was over, he didn't immediately know the outcome, but he realized something far more important. He had already won. He had faced fear, embraced growth, and transformed into someone stronger, wiser, and unshakable. The applause, the recognition, and even the accolades were secondary to the inner transformation that had taken place. From that day forward, he walked with a sense of clarity and purpose. He understood that life's challenges were not obstacles, but the very tools that sculpted him into the person he was meant to become. And as he looked back on the journey, he smiled, knowing that every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt had been a necessary part of the transformation. He was no longer the boy who feared failure. He was a young man who understood that life, with all its twists and turns, had been preparing him for greatness all along. After months of growth, effort, and countless challenges, he finally paused to reflect on his journey. The boy who once felt powerless, lost, and doubtful now stood stronger, wiser, and filled with a sense of purpose that no setback could shake. He realized that every heartbreak, failure, and disappointment had been part of a grand design, a design meant to guide him, teach him, and prepare him for the life he was meant to live. Sitting quietly on the hilltop where he often came to think, he felt gratitude for everything he had endured. Each struggle, each tear, each moment of doubt had shaped him into someone capable of embracing life fully. He smiled, understanding at last that nothing in his journey had been wasted. He thought of the rainy days, the missteps, the fear that once held him back, and the wise words of the elderly man in the park. All of it had led him here, to a place of clarity, confidence, and hope. He saw that life's challenges were not punishments, but guides, each one a step toward his own transformation. And then he asked himself the question, what would my life have been if I had given up at the first failure? The answer was clear. He would have missed everything. The growth, the lessons, the friendships, and the moments of triumph. Every hardship had been essential, every setback a necessary part of the journey. In that moment, he understood the most important lesson of all. Everything truly happens for a reason. Life's twists, turns, and trials were not obstacles. They were opportunities. And with that realization, he stood, took a deep breath, and stepped forward, ready to embrace the unknown, confident that whatever came next would only continue to shape him into the person he was meant to be. And as he walked down the path, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, he knew one thing for certain. The journey itself, the lessons, the struggles, the triumphs, was far more valuable than any destination.